Today we're going to be doing hot rubber crack sealing repair. Keep watching the video, I'll show you how I do that. Welcome back, it's Jeff Lepard from DoItAllSealing.com. On this channel, we do driveway sealing, asphalt repair, paving, general contracting, and so much more. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. So as you can see, there is a crack here forming along the asphalt. You can see weeds coming up. You can tell that it has been previously repaired a few years ago. So what we got to do is we've got to clean the crack out for preparation of the hot rubber that we're going to be applying. So we've got to clean that out, use our blowers, get that clean before we apply the hot rubber. So I'm going to show you the machine, what I'm going to be using, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the process. The first step in the preparation is I want to de-weed the cracks and clean out the cracks a little bit. There's many different things you can do, but I just want to show you with some of the basic tools that we have right now for today to do the job, such as a weed whacker and a crack broom. So the weed whacker, I'm just going to go along and remove the weeds, whack the weeds out. I know that most people, say on the roadways, if you're doing roadway repair, you're going to see people using a very large machine, which is a crack router. Now that opens up the asphalt to allow a little more flow of rubber material. This is a private property, and of course for a cost efficient method, we're not using a crack router on this property. They just want to buy a few years out of the cracks, and that's good enough. So we're just going to clean out the cracks as best as possible with the tools that we have. So I'm going to start this up and start getting the dirt, a little bit of the dirt and the weeds out. The next step, we're going to be using a crack broom to clean out the cracks. You could also use, like I said before, the router, or there's also a crack chaser machine that has a steel wire brush that spins, and we also do occasionally use that time to time as well, but this is just a smaller repair we're doing. Just going to use the handheld crack broom. So I'm just going to work it in, and just to make sure that all the dirt and debris is out. Now that we cleaned out the crack, the final step in the preparation is we're just going to use the handheld blower to blow free clear of the dirt and debris before we can apply any kind of rubber. Right now we're at the hot melter. This is a standard hot melter rubberizing unit. Now this is fairly cheap to pick up. I believe when I bought it was maybe about 1,600 Canadian, and of course it's a workhorse. It just makes itself money, pays for itself over and over again. So here is, you have your standard propane tank, you have your torch, your regulator valve, you have your temperature gauge. So with this stuff, it's very important for safety. You have to know the material that you're using and you're putting in the machine has a flash point. If you're heating up that rubber higher than the flash point, it's going to catch on fire. I've done that a couple times, and you just have to know what to do when that happens. It's just you have to be very careful with this stuff. And the working temperature for the rubber that I'm using is about 300 to 350 degrees. And that's optimal temperature for the rubber to come out of the machine at a very nice viscosity. There's all different types of rubbers that you can use, good and bad. So I won't really get into the names, but I will say if you're using a bad rubber, you'll find that the rubber actually clogs into the machine and you have to unclog the machine every so often. But if you're using a more higher quality product, you'll find that it flows free and it doesn't really clog up the machine. It's actually the plastic casing around the rubber that clogs up the machine, which I'll show you in a little bit. So I'm just going to, I'm going to start it up in a minute, but I'm just going to show you a little something here. So this is the chute that it actually comes out of. And if you do actually experience a clog, there is you can just make like a little piece of steel or something like that to unclog it. And really, if you find that your machine's clogged, you can just pretty much tilt it up and just pretty much open the valve and just shove it up there to make sure that the nothing is clogged in this machine. I have been asked in the past about other guys that have these machines, and they ask me, how do you unclog this machine? And that's one of my little tips. So if I ever clog this machine again, I'll probably do a video on that specifically and show you guys. So right now, the next step is I'm gonna pull the lid off, and I'm going to put a block, a rubber block in the machine before I start up the propane. So I'm gonna give you another little tip. Before I put the cube of rubber into the hot melter, one of these tips is to always try to use a utility knife and cut away the leftover plastic that's left from the factory. It's this that will actually gum up in your machine and clog in the pipes. So the more you cut away, the less likely that your machine will clog. So just use this to get rid of as much as you can. The rubber cubes that I'm using, just in case you're wondering, I'm getting these from Asphalt, the same place where I buy my sealer. I find their rubber is really good, it's really flexible, and it rarely clogs the machine. I don't really want to get into which rubbers are not good. I don't want to put anybody down, but I will say I love this product, and it's really good, and I do recommend using Asphalt's product. Okay, so I'll just put this aside in my pocket. So now I'm just going to take the cube, and if you see over here, it's pretty empty right now. And you always want to keep as much rubber in the machine while you're heating, because the rubber actually heats up other rubber. By running the propane and the machine hot with barely any rubber in there, you're running high temperatures and it's cooking very slow. You're not going to get much lines done. The more material you have in the machine, the faster it's going to have ready product made for you. Okay, so I'm just going to drop this in. I'm going to put the lid back on. And now we're ready to start the propane. Now that I'm ready to light this up, the first step about this is obviously just lighting the propane up and letting the hot kettle, the hot melter, heat up. And then the other little tip is, when this gets hot enough for you to work with, it's always a good idea to take the torch out and to heat up the exterior pipe where the product flows from. That way, this valve doesn't move right now, but when you heat this up, this is what's controlling the flow down your downspout here. So you want to get this nice and hot, and that also helps prevent the rubber from gumming up and getting stuck. So first, heat up the machine to optimal temperature. Take the torch out, and you're going to heat this up. And then once that's heated up, you're going to put it back in, and you're ready to start working. I'm just going to turn the propane on now. And we're going to let that heat up. Now that the rubber has heated to optimal temperature, I'm going to heat up the exterior pipes with the torch. Process of the hot rubberizing. So on the machine we have an agitator valve. This lever just agitates the rubber. It's good to keep moving that throughout your repairs. This lever here lifts and lowers the your chute, the spatula kind of thing. And this is what applies the rubber. So I'm just going to drop the chute there. Rubber is going to just float in that steel group there. Let's put some rubber in, and I'm just going to start applying pressure to the machine and walk with it. And just watch to make sure that I'm not overflowing that. You may have to do 1 or 2 coats, but you'll let the rubber settle, and then after that you can see if you have to apply a second coat. dry. There's a few areas where I have to apply a second coat, so I'm just going to go over the entire crack with a second coat of rubber. So that's it. That's how you do the hot rubber crack sealing repair on a parking lot. Just want to thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and bash that bell to turn notifications on for all of the upcoming videos. Give us a thumbs up and like our video. Share the video and leave a comment if you have any questions you want to ask me. I'll be happy to get back to you guys. That's it, and we'll see you next time from DoItAllSealing.com. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.